Roger. Maintain 150. Identified traffic at 12 o'clock. Reciprocal Saudi Boeing 747, 14 miles. Report in sight. On 12th of November, 1996, Saudia Flight 763, a Boeing 747, was scheduled to fly from Delhi to Dhahran. It was a regular international flight between Delhi-Dhahran-Jeddah passenger with 312 people on board. Another flight, Kazakhstan Airlines Flight 1907, an Ilyushin Il-76TD, with registration UN 76435, was on a charter service from Chimkent Airport to Delhi. The crew on Saudi flight consisted of Captain Khalid Al-Shubaili, age 45, First Officer Nazir Khan, and Flight Engineer Ahmed S. Edris. Al-Shubaili was a veteran pilot with 9,837 flying hours. The crew in Kazakh Airlines consisted of Captain Alexander Robertovich Cherepanov, age 44, First Officer Ermek Kozhametovich Jangarov, Flight Engineer Alexander Alexandrovich Chuprov, Navigator Jahanbek Duisanovich Aripayev, and Radio Operator Igor Alexievich Rep. Cherepanov was highly experienced, with 9,129 flight hours. SVA Flight 763 departed Delhi at 6:32 p.m. KZA Flight 1907 was descending simultaneously to land at Delhi. Both flights were controlled by approach controller V.K. Dutta. Immediately after takeoff, the SVA flight was cleared to an initial altitude of 10,000 feet. At 1834, Dutta cleared the KZA plane to descend to 15,000 feet. 2 minutes later, at 1836, Dutta cleared the SVA plane, traveling on the same airway but in the opposite direction, to climb to 14,000 feet. At 1838, the SVA crew reported reaching 14,000 feet and requested a higher level. Dutta told them to hold their altitude and stand by, to which First Officer Khan replied, "Saudi 763 will maintain 140.
At 1839, the KZA flight reported having reached its assigned altitude of 15,000 feet, but it was actually higher, at 16,348 feet, and still descending. At this time, Dutta advised the flight, identified traffic 12 o'clock, reciprocal, Saudia Boeing 747 at 10 miles, likely to cross in another 5 miles. Less than a minute later, at 18.40, the crew of a United States Air Force cargo flight made a radio call saying they had seen a big explosion at their 2 o'clock position. Dutta attempted to contact the SVA and KZA flights, but received no response. The two aircraft had collided. All 312 people on board SVA 763 and all 37 people on KZA 1907 were killed. The collision took place about 100 kilometers, 60 miles, west of Delhi. The wreckage of the Saudi Arabian aircraft landed near Dani village, Bhavani district, Haryana. The wreckage of the Kazakh aircraft hit the ground near Bairohar village, Rohtak district, Haryana. How come such incident happened even after clear instructions from ATC controller V.K. Dutta? The ultimate cause was held to be the failure of Kazakhstan Airlines Flight 1907's pilot to follow ATC instructions, whether due to cloud turbulence or due to communication problems. According to aviation rules and regulation, the minimum vertical distance between two planes must be 1,000 feet and minimum horizontal distance must be 14 kilometers of radius. The report ascribed the cause of this serious breach in operating procedure to the lack of English language skills on the part of the Kazakhstan aircraft pilots. They were relying entirely on radio operator rep for communications with the ATC. As part of this, the report suggested that First Officer Zangarov and possibly Captain Cherpanov might have misunderstood Dutta's final radio call and assumed that the Saudi 747's altitude, 14,000 feet, was their own assigned altitude. Just a few seconds from impact, the Kazakhstani plane climbed slightly and the two planes collided. This was because Rep had only then realized that they were not at 15,000 feet and asked the pilot to climb. Cherepanov gave orders for full throttle, and the plane climbed, only to hit the oncoming Saudi Arabian plane. Furthermore, the investigation noted that Indira Gandhi International Airport did not have secondary surveillance radar, which provides extra information, such as the aircraft's identity and altitude, by reading transponder signals. Instead, the airport had aprimary radar, which produces readings of distance and bearing, but not altitude. In addition, departures and arrivals both shared a single corridor within the civilian airspace around New Delhi. The airspace of Delhi in 1996 had only one civilian corridor for both departures and arrivals, because much of the airspace was taken by the Indian Air Force. After investigations about this fatal crash, many improvements were made in aviation industry. Separation of inbound and outbound aircraft through the creation of air corridors. Installation of a secondary air traffic control radar for aircraft altitude data. Mandatory collision avoidance equipment on commercial aircraft operating in Indian airspace. Reduction of the airspace over New Delhi that was formerly under exclusive control of the Indian Air Force. The Directorate General of Civil Aviation subsequently made it mandatory for all aircraft flying in and out of India to be equipped with an airborne collision avoidance system. This set a worldwide precedent for mandatory use of traffic collision avoidance system.